And I've never seen a more convoluted, confusing plotline in my life, and that's impressive. That's
You
saying
should
something.
be ashamed of yourself. And
I am ashamed of you.
I was embarrassed for you. Second-hand embarrassment. That was terrible. But here's some flowers.
Congratulations.
And here's your award. Maybe it's going to make you feel better. And do better for 2026, please. Just to be clear, you're saying that C is worse than sometimes you have to dispense justice yourself.
I think
that has violent connotations.
It does have violent connotations, but I think that's arguably true. Arguably true in some cases.
So wait,
I think
what you're saying is that the police should kick off the door, come in, and take you out in chains.
This is why I said
naked.
This is
I don't know why we're going. I don't know why I had to be naked.
Took artistic license.
Welcome to the Golden Bookmark Award ceremony, where the best, worst, boldest, and most unforgettable moments from the nearly 100 books we've read in 2025 are judged by you. After a year of plot twists, emotional gut punches, questionable writing choices, and the occasional masterpiece, tonight we honour the moments that stayed with us and the moments we never want to think about again. We'll be awarding categories such as Best Final Moment, Most Unrealistic Plot Choice, the books you'd never recommend, Best Male Character, and many more. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give you the category, name, and then the nominations, and a very quick reminder of what each moment actually was. Just enough context so that even if you haven't read the books, you can still play along and vote. Then you at home can choose your winner down in the comments. This is your award show as much as ours. Joseph, you good? Any questions before we begin?
No, let's get started.
So, our first category, Most Morally Dangerous Message. The nominations are A, sometimes you have to dispense justice yourself in The Intruder. B, I need to tell the truth no matter the cost. That's Buckeye. And C, love excuses everything in Wildcard. So I don't know if you remember all of those books. In Intruder by Frida McFadden, our favourite author, the author explains that sometimes it's acceptable for individuals to take justice in their own hands. The book frames this as empowering, especially for women. When you discover something evil, you don't wait, you act. And B, I need to tell the truth no matter the cost. That was Buckeye by Patrick Ryan. In Buckeye, a woman lets it slip nearly a decade later that her husband is not the biological father of the child he's raised as his own. And as if that wasn't enough, after accidentally destroying her own marriage, she then tracks down the biological father and tells him that she plans to confess to his wife too, in the name of honesty. This is 9 years later. 9 years down the line. Yeah, everyone deserves the truth, is what she said. And in C, love excuses everything, Wildcard. Wildcard asks readers to root for a romance where a father pursues his son's ex-girlfriend and goes out of its way to make that feel acceptable. The father is framed as misunderstood but noble. Love apparently conquers all, including loyalty, boundaries, and long-term damage. The book quietly argues that if two people are meant to be, then does the collateral damage really matter? So which of these win? And by extension, which of these authors win the award for the most dangerous message?
It's quite interesting because I felt like they got worse and worse. The first one was bad, the second one was terrible, third one is disgraceful. I think there is
but I think B is bad.
B is terrible.
B is terrible because she didn't feel like the need to come clean. Only when her marriage went wrong. Only when her husband figured it out and her 100%. Marriage went to the dirt, she thought, I need to come clean. I need to tell everybody now.
She needs to drag something down with her. That is what she needed. But what I think is interesting is that if she was interested, honestly, she wouldn't have been in that situation, first of all.
Oh, yeah, there's that. There's that.
But listen, hindsight is 2020, like I said. No, but I think if we're being honest, Wildcard, Elsie Silver, we
you think that takes the cake?
Oh, that for me, that number one, love excuses everything. First of all, we've said this many times. What even is love? What exactly is excusing
Just to be clear, you're saying that C is worse than sometimes you have to dispense justice yourself.
I think
that has violent connotations.
It does have violent connotations, but I think that's arguably true. Arguably true in some cases.
So wait,
I think in some cases you should dispense justice yourself.
So what you're saying is that the police should kick off the door, come in, and take you out in chains.
This is why I said
naked. I don't know why we're going. I don't know why I had to be naked.
Took artistic license
because they think you've done something wrong.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes there are situations where you should dispense justice. I think if you're in, let's say, a home in America, for example, dangerous crackhead breaks into your house, you got a gun, you should shoot them. to protect your family. That would be dispensing justice, taking it into your own hands.
But so you should shoot them and execute them. They're down on the floor begging, please, I'm sorry. They've thrown the gun away. You should execute them.
I think if you... yes, you should. Yes. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Now you can see. What I would do. Now you can see the problem that we have here when you dispense justice.
That's what I would do. That is what I would do. Dangerous criminal breaks into your house. Protect your family.
There's a difference.
Listen, anyway. I'm not a police officer. It's not my job to apprehend criminals. It's my job to
execute them. Crazy.
Double tap.
Begging, pleading, wetting themselves. I'm sorry, I won't come
back.
They're
on drugs. Ignore all of that. But no, I think the last one, if we're being honest, my pick, I've got to press that red button. I'd go C, Elsie Silver.
Fair enough. Card. Okay. And the winner of the most morally dangerous message in 2025 is...
Wild Card by Elsie Silver. And it was love excuses everything, which is just crazy. I don't even know what that sentence means.
Elsie, fair enough. Well, come get your flowers. Well done. Okay, so the next category, most unrealistic plot choice. The nominations are A, the doppelganger reveal in The Business Trip. B, the perfect crime by accident in The Tenant by Frida McFadden. And C, Etsy's ending in The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. So just some backstory. The doppelganger reveal in The Business Trip. This book hinges on two women being so physically identical that they can seamlessly replace one another. Jasmine meets a woman called Stephanie who happens to look exactly like her, and they're sitting right next to each other. Convenient. Stephanie just happens to go to the toilet and happens to leave her ID in plain sight. Jasmine steals it. From there, Jasmine kills Stephanie and steals her life. And then comes the reveal, and it's genuinely ridiculous. Stephanie was never Stephanie. The woman Jasmine killed was another doppelganger, hired by the real Stephanie because she didn't want to go on a work trip. B, ridiculous. The perfect crime by accident, The Tenant. What's sold as a psychological thriller is actually a chain reaction of impossible luck. Krista doesn't just manipulate Blake, she engineers reality through coincidence. She hires actors to pose as her parents at the exact moment Blake starts questioning her past. Fake tenants conveniently appear whenever suspicion needs redirecting. Mr. Zimmerly, the nosy neighbour, used as narrative pressure, is abruptly murdered in his own house for absolutely no reason. And the final reveal, Whitney, the tenant, who's driven most of the tension, just happens to be a hit woman paid by somebody else to kill Krista. What the hell is going on? But let's move on. This is C. Etsy's ending in The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. At the end of the novel, Etsy, an academic with no violent background, sedates, dismembers, and kills an ancient supernatural being with her bare hands. She strangles it to death and then cuts its head off. Out of nowhere, suddenly, Etsy becomes capable of extreme physical violence. I mean, what? Who wins the award, should I say?
I would like to go with The Tenant by Frida McFadden. I just feel like that was all over the place. It was all over the place. None of it made any sense. However,
I know what you're going to say.
I just can't get away from the doppelganger. The doppelganger is insane. Finding one doppelganger is 1 in a billion. Finding two is just like
and then having a doppelganger go on a work trip with you. It was just so.
And the motivations were just like
not just that, but she gave the doppelganger. Remember, if Stephanie was never really Stephanie, that means she gave the doppelganger her passport. Doppelganger didn't travel on her own passport, which is what you would do. But you've now broken the law, federal law, by traveling on fake documents for what?
To get out of a work trip.
It
can't be that bad. That was
absolutely ridiculous. But I think that was close because the Etsy's ending in The Buffalo Hunter Hunter.
That is
ridiculous. Just a random person just becoming capable of extreme violence. That was just, they were all outlandish. You know, Frida McFadden was lucky to not get this this award again.
The most unrealistic plot twist goes to The Business Trip. And I've never seen a more convoluted, confusing plotline in my life, and that's impressive. That's
you should be ashamed of yourself. And
I am ashamed of you.
I was embarrassed for you. Second-hand embarrassment. That was terrible. But here's some flowers.
Congratulations.
And here's your award. Maybe it's going to make you feel better. And do better for 2026, please.
2 doppelgangers. I've never heard something so heinous.
I don't know what the editor was doing. Because when the editor read this, he must be thinking, what are you doing? Like,
you can't say it's bad if you don't know what happened in the book, right?
He probably didn't read it.
Do you know what I mean?
Our next category is Best Single Scene. The nominations are Elizabeth's Chair in The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. B, Nate abandoning Cassie in Dating After the End of the World. Or C, the NASA audio playback in Atmosphere. So, to jog your memories, Elizabeth's Chair in The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. Elizabeth tells a seemingly throwaway story about her late husband Stephen and a chair he once bought in Camden. He had to have it, she said. He promised it would fit in the car. It didn't. He strapped it to the roof and drove home at 15 miles an hour. Then it wouldn't fit up the stairs, so he had the legs sawn off. Then, finally, inside the flat, he realised it didn't even match the curtains. The entire reason he wanted it in the first place. And yet, Stephen sat in it anyway. Stubborn, defiant, content. Elizabeth finished the story quietly. It was Stephen and the chair, and it was the chair and Stephen, and now it's just the chair. She hated the chair. She could finally get rid of it. But probably, for the first time, she doesn't want to. We've got B, Nate abandoning Cassie. During the early chaos of the zombie outbreak, Cassie and her fiancé Nate are holed up in their apartment when they are attacked. When violence breaks out, Nate runs, leaving Casey behind with the gang to be killed or worse, which we thought was unforgivable. Later, when they reunite, he explains that he ran away to draw the danger away from her, reframing the entire scene. I think he should get bonus points for that because that's a good excuse. I was drawing them away.
It's the only good excuse.
See the NASA audio playback in atmosphere. During training, Joanna and the other astronaut candidates are led into a dark room and made to listen to a real recording from the fatal shuttle mission. It begins with a calm, ordinary radio chatter, status checks, oxygen reading, light banter, and then a sudden alarm. A crackle in the comms. Somebody's voice tightens. Is that smoke? Another voice. We've got a problem. Static. Rising panic. The horrifying sound of professionals trying to stay calm as everything fails around them. And then the line everybody dreads hearing. We're not going to make it. And none of them do. The instructors don't pause it, they don't explain it, they just let the silence sit afterwards, forcing every trainee to confront what becoming an astronaut really means. It's the purest, most harrowing moment of the entire book, and one of the few scenes that cuts straight through the romance filler and reminds you space doesn't care about your dreams. So, out of those, this is actually, finally we're presenting a good award to an author, because the others were just slated. So, out of those scenes, which would you say?
I did like the Impossible Fortune one. I thought it was a heartfelt scene. I feel like this isn't really my style. This is more your style. But I feel like I almost want to give bonus points because there's there's nothing in there to juice the scene up. Do you know what I mean? There's not like space or astronauts, fatal missions, that kind of thing. To like juice the scene up. It's just words and like something everyone feels like they can relate to. Yeah. But to be honest, for me, it was the atmosphere.
Oh really?
Yeah. It was atmosphere because that is harrowing.
But that is cheating though. You do realise that they've had an unfair advantage.
No, of course.
And for that reason, surely you should go with the person who showed raw talent. Because any fool can write a scene where astronauts die in space. That's what astronauts do.
Yeah, no, I hear that, but it doesn't mean it's going to be good.
But you can't make that bad.
We've seen people make things bad that shouldn't be bad.
But you shouldn't award somebody for doing something good that should be good. You should award because you can't give them an award for that. That's just the bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to do.
Maybe you think they did exceptionally well with what they had.
I tell you who did exceptionally well was Elizabeth and the chair. She told a heartfelt story about a chair she didn't even like. And that's close. You're actually rivaling that with a NASA space story, and that in and of itself.
Hear what I'm saying? And it loses. But scene v scene, what's better? The atmosphere.
No, I don't know if scene
for scene is better.
Oh, scene for scene.
Yeah, if this scene versus that scene, it's actually a better scene.
Okay, but you agree that writer, the Elizabeth chair wins in raw talent.
This was never the question.
I'm just asking.
Perhaps I think there's a much stronger argument there. There's a much stronger argument there for sure because, and like you said, she's working on a.
B was Nate abandoning Cassie, running away.
Yeah.
At the first time, he weren't running from zombies. He was running from men that were gonna take his girl. They weren't gonna kill her. They said it. They said we're gonna take your girl, and he ran out. You know,
whatever that means. He
ran out. He ran out and disappeared. He didn't come back, and she managed to fight them off. And escape. And then a week later, he resurfaces and says, I was trying to draw him away.
Nah, you know what? All right, what I will say is, I think this one it has to be an honourable mention as opposed to a contender for like number one spot sort of thing. But it was a really good scene because it kind of just shows how the world is like one serious catastrophe away from society just crumbling to pieces.
You know what? I'll tell you why this is a really good scene, because it strips us down to our raw feelings and emotions. Because what did we do? No, you can't do that. But if roles were reversed,
100%.
we wouldn't say,
Yeah,
Cassie can't run away from Nate. She should die fighting to protect him. No one would say that. And we like to live in this world where we are gender equality. You know, that's what we try and pretend. But deep down,
well, that's what I'm saying. When the Titanic starts sinking, you know, it's women and children to the lifeboats, not every man for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the winner is.
I'm gonna go with atmosphere. That was Taylor Jenkins Reid, didn't it? I thought the scene, like you said, yes, it could be cheating a little bit, but I thought it was extremely powerful scene, extremely moving. I definitely wouldn't want to go into space after listening to that. By the way, I'd be like,
yeah, exactly.
Can I still?
Yeah, but to be fair, if you're turned off by that, you should never have been there in the first place.
You shouldn't have been there in the first place. But maybe that's what it took for you to realize that you shouldn't have been there in the first place. I thought it was an excellent job, well done, and it really was the diamond in the rough in it because the story wasn't. The
story was rubbish. Rubbish. But you got the best scene of 2025.
But you got your Oscar out of it.
Yeah. Come get your flowers. Our next category, 2025's worst parent. You decide. The nominations are Cassie's prepper dad from Dating After the End of the World, B, Sybil from The Correspondent, or C, the kitchen floor suicide in Watch Me. In A, Cassie's father was obsessed with the apocalypse long before it ever arrived. He didn't just believe the world would end, he built his entire life and his daughter's childhood around it. Instead of birthdays and friendships, Cassie spent her formative years digging trenches and building fortifications and training for survival. She didn't get a choice. Fun, normality and freedom, all sacrificed at the altar of preparation. B. Sybil's damage is quieter and arguably worse. She wasn't violent, she wasn't neglectful in obvious ways, she was emotionally absent. Sybil repeatedly chose her work over her children. Most devastatingly, she ignored her young son's final plea for attention while distracted by emails. Moments before he died in a tragic accident, "Should I jump, Mummy?" the boy asked. "Yeah, jump," she said, without even taking her eyes off the spreadsheets. And worse, she never tells the truth about what happened, protecting herself while denying her family the full reality. And then we have C, Watch Me. Before the story even starts moving, the book drops one of its darkest blows with a shotgun. Rosa's mother blows her own head off on the kitchen floor, leaving her two daughters to clean up the aftermath. Literal and emotional. Why did she do it? Because Rosa's father was branded a traitor by the re-establishment, exiled or vanished, and the shame, poverty and government scrutiny crushed what was left of her sanity. Which of those are the worst parents?
Yeah. Which is
because I know
the worst thing. The worst parent.
There's the worst thing because instinctively you want to say suicide on the floor.
That's insane, by the way.
But suiciding on the floor is not as bad as killing your child.
That's what I was going to say.
But she didn't kill her child.
She as good as killed her child.
A child was saying, "Look, Mummy, I'm going to jump." And she was on her phone. Yeah, jump, whatever.
No, but that's innocent. That word jump, you should be like, jump where?
No, because the kid was jumping he was jumping off a cliff into the water.
No, I hear what you.
But he'd gone to like a dangerous part where he shouldn't be, where they told him not to.
Listen, neglect is neglect. For me,
neglect is harsh. Every single parent, if that's neglect, every single parent is guilty of neglect. Every single parent doesn't watch their child as much as they should, or they take their eyes off their child at times.
That's arguably true, but
so you can't. Can you say she's the worst parent of 2025 because she lost one of her kids? She's got two more. That was completely fine. They're completely fine.
66% success rate.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I think the difference between jail time and no jail time is if something goes wrong. Not necessarily if you do something, if you don't follow procedure or you don't do what you should do, but whether it actually goes off the rails or not. And since it went off the rails, you get on this side of the line. It may not be fair or just, but that's just the way the world works, unfortunately.
Okay, so where do you stand with Cassie's dad then? Because what he did, he abused his child. His child is not a work. Well. It's not a machine. He robbed her of her childhood. It's beautiful. And he worked her to the ground, digging trenches. A little child digging trenches, building fortifications because he's a prepper. And the zombie apocalypse is coming. You know, he robbed her childhood.
I definitely think that's bad to rob children of their childhoods.
For your own benefit.
For your own benefit, but there was some benefit to her as well.
I think that's neither here nor there. He still did what he did.
No, but there's still some benefit to you. You can't say it wasn't wholly self-serving.
Only because the story made it so. In this day and age, if he did what he did in this day and age, stole the childhood, and when there's no apocalypse coming, World War III aside,
but you know, no, 100%.
You'd think differently.
That's true.
Just because it was in a zombie story, that doesn't make it better.
It does make it better because it was in a zombie story. Exactly that. I said,
we're actually discussing the actions, not the context, are we?
Well, I think context is key, as they say.
But you didn't think context was key when Sybil told her kid to jump. In that context, she wasn't doing anything malicious. She just wasn't paying attention.
Well, I think not paying attention is arguably one of the worst things you can do when you're a parent.
No, but
as we see here,
we are not
we've seen
machines.
evidence.
We're not machines. We're humans.
Yeah.
And humans get distracted. Like it or not, we do.
No,
and that doesn't make her
that.
evil. It doesn't make her the worst parent
I
in the
understand
world.
that, but
surely.
when we say the worst parent in the world, we're basing this off
2025.
in 2025. We're basing this off one moment, one decision, which probably isn't fair to do anyway.
So what you saying?
So
I agree.
I've reframed the argument as worst parenting decision because that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the worst parenting decision
is blowing
in
your
context.
head off. for your children to
No, and the reason why I didn't
children
say
to
that,
clean up.
Yeah, the children
You
to clean
could have
up
done it
is
outside.
insane. You could have
in the kitchen floor.
You could have I don't know.
They could never live there again.
They can't. They might not be able to live anywhere.
It's a childhood home.
We're talking about robbing childhoods. Actually, might have to be the suicide one, because I was gonna use a temporary insanity defense. They use that in court. Insanity defense. There's loads of societal pressures. She's clearly not thinking straight. She's definitely not mentally well. Sybil was mentally well. Do you know what I mean? Which is why it's gonna have to be one of those two. Though I don't think it could be Cassie's dad from Dana.
Even though he robbed her childhood.
He did rob her childhood, but Sybil robbed her son's childhood because he died.
She failed as a mother. Because your job of a mother is to at least take your child to 18. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
And she did fail. The woman that took suicide, she didn't fail.
She didn't succeed.
Death is a bit final. I don't know. Look, the
choice
is yours.
I'm gonna go with.
It feels like you keep chopping and changing your mind.
I do. But I've made a fun decision. I'm gonna go with the suicide for what was it called again?
to.
Tara, you are a truly sick puppy, and leaving children to clean up is just that's what took it over the top for me. To be honest, if it was a cleaner method of suicide, then perhaps it could have been a closer debate.
Yeah.
But gunshot wound to the head, nasty stuff. And congratulations.
Congratulations. Here's your flowers.
Enjoy them.
I've changed my mind. The child dying, it's gotta be worse. It just has to be worse. The kid's dead. At the end of the day, the woman taking suicide, she took suicide, but her children are okay. She didn't kill the kids and then herself.
I don't think okay is the word we want to be using here. They're definitely not okay. They're a long way from okay, first of all. And she has no idea what's gonna happen to them now. She's just, released them into the harsh reality.
Okay, so just to be clear, we've already presented the award. But are you saying that the worst parental decision isn't one that results in the death of the child? It's the one that saves the children and sacrifices her. Is that
there
what you're
are
saying?
things worse than death. There are fates worse than death, and her children may now be subject to them. So what you're saying
is living through that, surviving your mother is worse than dying. Is that what you're trying to say?
In that situation, I think there's an argument for that. Yeah, because you could survive your mother. She could die from natural causes, or she could die through some manner of tragedy or whatever. But you've got to clean up the remains. That's just not.
I think
that's a lifetime of scarring for that.
Fair enough.
However long or short life may be.
Okay, we've got next category: most cowardly writing decision. The nominations are: A, deliberately sabotaging Trip to protect Bash in Wildcard. B, softening the Predator in the Academy. Or C, keeping everybody trapped in the inn in The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. Do you remember all of those?
I remember the first and third one. I'm not really sure if I remember the second one.
Okay, perfect. So, A, deliberately sabotaging Trip to protect Bash. Trip isn't written as flawed. He's written as unbearable on purpose, because if Trip had any shred of sympathy, the whole story collapses under the real moral dilemma. Bash steals his own son's girlfriend. That's radioactive. So the author flattens Trip into a cartoon villain, loud, cruel, and obnoxious, just to force the reader to root against him. This isn't character writing. This is narrative damage control. A writer too scared to let the story confront its own ethical mess. So Trip was the son.
Yeah,
it's a funny name. It was Bash, and Trip was his son, and Bash took his son's ex-girlfriend. And what the author did is the author made Trip to be this unbearable character, so that we as the readers can say, yeah, Bash, take his girl. Yeah, because if you had the two characters on the evil level, we would have seen Bash as the terrible father he is. So that's why it was a cowardly writing decision. What the author should have done is give us both of them and let the readers make their decision, get in the bed and lie in it, because it would have split.
Schismic. It would have been schismic.
It would have split the audience. Some of them would have said, yeah, Bash, true love is real love, and then the other side would have been like, no, that's just wrong. So B, softening the predator in the academy. The book initially sets up Simone as what she is, a predator abusing a power imbalance. She's a teacher having sexual relations with a student. Then the author panics and decides against giving us the juicy student-teacher relationship. Why, you might ask? Is it because if she did, then we as the readers would realise people don't care when the abuser is a woman? The book backs away from the harder story, blurs the danger and protects the reader instead of the character. It's not nuanced, it's cowardice disguised as restraint. And in C, keeping everybody trapped in the inn. Book sells itself as a whimsical autumn vibe, Wizard of Oz style fantasy, the kind of story where world building should bloom, expand and take you somewhere magical. Instead, the protagonist never leaves the inn. Not once, not even when performing a massive complicated high stakes spell. Every ingredient she needs is just conveniently lying around the property. It's cozy, not as an aesthetic, but as an escape hatch. A shield the author hides behind to avoid building a world, raising stakes, or letting the character grow. It's the safest choice possible in a genre built on adventure. And safest is not the same as strongest. The author was a coward. So, who gets the award for most cowardly
I think The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
She should be, absolutely should be ashamed of herself, and I'd never want to see you again. But I think it was more
laziness.
It was more lazy than cowardly. That's what I would say.
Really?
Yeah, I would say it's more lazy than cowardly, because especially with her just having everything she needs around the thing, you just couldn't really be bothered to write the kind of...
Or maybe she didn't want to take the risk building a world that wasn't good enough. There's definitely
but she did build a world that wasn't good enough with the book that she released. So that's why I say it was lazy.
No, but if you don't try, sometimes there's some vindication in you not trying something.
You didn't fail.
Yeah, if you don't try, you didn't fail. You know, but if you tried, you risked your own self. You risked trying.
No, I'm not saying there's not an element of cowardliness to it, but I just think there's a larger element. I'd put the lion's share of it down to laziness, because, like, it's still bad without, if you don't try, it doesn't mean you've succeeded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
So,
I hear what you're saying. So one bites the dust. So we're taking C.
What was the second one again? I forgot.
The second one was softening the predator in the academy.
Oh yes, yeah.
What's her name? Simone. She was having sex with a male student.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, she wasn't. They were kissing or something like that, and the author was about to give us the whole thing, and then Andrew, who was the student, said, no, we can't do this. And that never happens. This was a student-teacher relationship. What we get, anytime it's a man is the teacher, they're definitely having sex. But all of a sudden, when the roles are reversed, they don't have sex. So I thought it was cowardly by the author, because she didn't give us what we wanted to see. And if we got what we wanted to see, you would have seen it in the reviews. There would have been people saying, "Oh, it's so spicy," you know.
100%.
When the girl's a teacher.
Exactly. I think
so. That was cowardly.
Yeah, it is cowardly, and I definitely think there's a lot of she didn't have the kahunas to make a woman the villain sort of thing, or to make a woman at fault for something.
Exactly.
Because people might not necessarily see it the same way. People always want to see the woman as the victim.
Exactly. Because even in that story, the woman wasn't seen as the predator. It was still Andrew, because he was 17, but he's the guy, so he automatically gets labelled as the predator.
I think the first pick is incredibly cowardly, though, with Trip
and it's right there.
It's ridiculously cowardly.
It's so bait what you've done as well.
It's just you're so desperate to, by any means necessary, root for the couple that we're supposed to root for. But let me make my own decisions.
If you're going to do something morally grey, we've got to see the repercussions of that. Well, what we did see, we saw Trip was upset, but no, we wanted to see you want the reader to think, is this okay? You want the reader to think, I don't know if this is, but I still want them to do it.
I don't know if the girl's a good person, sort of thing.
I don't know if they're a good couple or they're good people, but I still want them to be together. That's where you see who people really are. But the author took that from us, And
it's like you said, could have started a big debate. There could have been a very schismic kind of thing, and obviously that's really good for publicity and stuff. And audience engagement, you would feel more engaged with the story.
But the author chickened out.
I'm feeling like to go with A, to be honest, because A was ridiculous. It was, like you said, it was so obvious. Like, you're not fooling anybody. And it would have been 3 or 4 times better of a story, if the author had just taken that risk. I don't think there's not much that could backfire with that as well. Like, it would be a complex story in terms of, can we root for these characters and how do you feel morally about it? But that's just started a whole debate. That's a net positive.
I think you're right, because the difference between A and the others is that the cowardice or the cowardliness shot the author in the foot.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
would have improved
100%.
the book, and you didn't do it.
Tapping.
And because you were a
Coward. And for your cowardice, we would like to present to you with this shiny award. It was Wild Side, isn't it? Was it Wild Side or Wild Card?
Wild Card, yeah.
It was Wild Card,
but
yeah.
Elsie
Elsie
Silver.
Silver.
You won the award for the most cowardly writing decision.
Stop making all your titles similar, please.
Exactly.
It's Wild Side, Wild
That's a
Card,
cowardly
Wild
decision as well.
Eyes. Yeah. Let's stop it.
So yes, that is all 5 done. That's us. Do you think we missed anything off?
I'm surprised that we didn't. There wasn't more like Frida victories here, to be honest, because I feel like
we don't need to get. Frida doesn't need any more awards, does she?
That's
not
true,
does
to be
she?
fair.
Does she deserve it? But we've got some more
for some of the
coming.
bad categories, maybe.
Yeah. You know what we need to do next time? We're gonna keep score, and then maybe we can give an ultimate prize to the author who's won the most awards.
This is Ballon d'Or.
Sort of thing.
One category that I feel like we could have touched on, but we can do it for another time, is like worst spouse, for example, because something that came into my mind is who's the woman from The Husbands by Holly Gramazio that was sending husbands to their deaths
She was
repeatedly.
killing them left,
That
right,
was
and centre.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
She didn't know where they were going.
She was swapping them
That's
out like
arguably
they were
worse.
clothes. Yeah,
There was arguably worse. She had no idea where they was going. Like they'll come down, she'd be like, no, you're not handsome enough. Go back. Ridiculous.
That's what I'd do.
But you like them handsome, don't you?
But yeah, I suppose you don't have a quote of the day, do you?
Put me on the spot there.
Well, I guess this is us. Stay tuned. More's coming, I suppose. Till next time.
Till next time.